Lenny Bradford, who's bass man's a friend of mine. He's from the Boston area.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, well, it's a wonderful song. They're all just great. Two Hearts. I mean, a lot of them, the majority of them, you actually wrote yourself. So your writing style is you have these thoughts and then you put it in you put it down.
Yeah.
And I think that's the best idea because in the middle of the night you might have a thought, or you're in some club and you see something that triggers a nice new thought for a song. So that's the
Yeah,
way to do it.
and then you just hammer them out. There's no magical way to write songs. I've found out. I used to look around like for what's the secret to writing good songs, and I've written with some really good songwriters. Gary Nicholson.
Oh
and
yeah.
Jeff Silbar and my good friend Bonnie Hayes, who produced our last album, and these are people who have had huge songs. They've written iconic songs, and they've got these, and you think they must know the secret, and they always do it the same way we all do it. We just kind of keep
You just do it.
hammering away, and you use a little tool like a rhyming dictionary or something like that. But mostly you just keep working on it till you've got something good.
Oh,
and Rick Estrin, who I wrote
Oh yeah.
all about the cash with,
Oh yes, the cash.
he always says you just keep going until you know it's good.
Yeah.
You don't give up working on it. Don't stop working on it until you're sure.
You get that
you've
feeling.
got something good.
I think that's good advice.
And all the lyrics hold up and they're not, too trite or something like that.
It's all good. I want to talk about the band because first of
Yeah.
all, I love this band, but I know you had a change up in 2011. But before we get to the band, I love the way this has been put together. I like the way this jacket is put together. Clearly, who's playing what?
Yeah.
Great pictures, a great picture of you on the front, and it's all clear in a font that you can see, and you give credit to the background vocalists, and I just want to tell you that I think it's terrifically put together, and I love the label.
I have a good team with Alligator Records. They have a great staff of really dedicated people. And then we reach out to a few other people from time to time. This was designed by a poster designer in San Diego who does all the posters at the Belly Up Tavern in San Diego, which is it's like a Fillmore kind of a room for San Diego area.
Well, let's talk about these guys. You changed bands. I knew Keith Crossan a little bit. You had the saxophone. Now it's a different lineup, and it works. How did this come about?
Well, it's been an ongoing, actually, like most blues bands. There's been member changes all along.
Right.
And there was at one point where I decided I wanted to try. I wanted to try, the sound of a band without horns.
Sure.
I had horns on every record I made for years and years and years, and Keith and I, of course, are like brothers.
Your brothers, yeah.
And he'd been on the road with Commander Cody, been on the road with Lenny Williams,
That's
he'd
right,
been
we
on
met
the
him,
road
Cody.
with, the KBC band, the Jefferson Airplane guys, and he's got a long history. He played with Peter Walsh, and he's been, he'd just been a great great musician, of course, and a great person, a great guy, a good friend, and he just had been on the road for many, 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 many years, and I could tell that he was getting a little weary of the road life.
Take a little break.
He loved to be home. He just always looked so forward to getting home and stuff,
yeah.
and so he had his own album that he had done, and he had some gigs of his own when he went back home to the Bay Area once in a while. And I kind of gave him a little push to go ahead and develop that,
Yeah.
and maybe semi-retire, stay home. And right now he's playing in Stompy Jones. He's got a handful of other
Peter's
gigs.
old band, yeah.
Peter's old band.
Peter's old band.
He's doing but he's able to stay home most of the time, and he's working, and he's really, really happy. Him and his wife are
See,
just.
I think that's nice that you do. I think that's nice because, B.B. King did that with his band. He told Stanley Abernathy, please, go out and I want to hear your music too. And I think that's a sign of a good leader. You encourage the creativity of your band, of your staff.
I always want what's best for everybody involved, but I have to keep focused on the main order of business is that I keep my career and my business afloat, so that I could, continue to make a living and support my family and my kids. And
So where'd you come up with these wonderful guys?
So I
Yeah.
want to keep this. I want to keep the music fresh, and I want to keep my like I talked about earlier. So that was the main move. It was like, okay, this is a tough and a big move,
Right.
and also I have to be perfectly honest. Economics enter into the picture a little bit.
Sure.
A little bit smaller band makes it easier to go do different gigs. You know,
Absolutely.
we get offers to go to Europe sometimes, but the flights, so many flights, you can't. You know, you'd have to say we have to pass.
Yeah.
You know, we can't afford to take the band over there for that. And so a smaller band made it a little easier to do different things. But the main reason for that was I wanted to try a different sound where I was put in a position to have to work harder on the guitar. Because I felt like with this big orchestra I had, this big fat band, 2 horns, keyboards, and I could stop playing and it sounded awesome. You know,
I'm gonna listen
it
to
sounded
these guys.
amazing. I know.
Yeah.
And so I just thought, so I was getting a little bit, you know, I just felt like I needed to do more on the guitar.
Okay.
I needed to push myself a little bit more and create a new sound. And that's what's happened. We did a band called the Painkillers, and there's already been 2 member changes since then.
Okay.
So that original lineup of the Painkillers was Byron Cage on drums, James Pace on keyboards, and they are on that album,
Yes, from last
The
year.
Devil You Know.
It's a beautiful CD too.
And then this one now is Randy McDonald, my original bass player, started the band with me 25 years ago.
I recognize Randy McDonald. Yes.
Randy's been with me. We were in a band called the Dynatones together years ago, and Randy's also the band's road manager,
Okay.
which he helps me do a lot running the business. You know, so
That's
him and I
really
are
important.
kind of like partners in that respect. So then we are late. You know, we had. From Byron, there was a really good drummer from back home, David Tucker, who was with us for almost 2 years. And then most recently, it's Bowen Brown.
I'm looking forward to hearing
Now,
him.
Bowen, interesting thing about Bowen's he's got a great style. He was also in Stompy Jones.
Okay, this is good.
He played with John Lee Hooker in
Okay.
the Coast to Coast Blues
He
Band
did?
for 7 or 8 years. I mean,
My goodness, it must
toured
have been
all over-
5.5.
toured all over the world with him, you know, and really, and a lot of experience with different kinds of blues and swing bands and New Orleans style bands, or I mean, you know, Louisiana
Yeah,
music bands.
I
and
can
that
hear. I
play
heard
around the
some of
Bay
that on
Area.
one of those cuts. Definitely a little New Orleans beat back there.
Yeah, and so he's got a fresh style for me. I was looking for somebody who's more of a blues drummer, and then Mike Emerson is a guy who's been like the 5th Beatle in my band for years. He's played with us a bunch of different times, different situations. Been on blues cruises, legendary rhythm and blues reviews. We did gigs together a lot, and it was just time. James was going to be leaving, and the timing was right for Mike to join the band.
Perfect.
So that's the band that's going to be playing today. That's the band that's on this record.
Yeah,
and
I'm
I hope
excited.
we could stay the same 4 guys for a long time to come.
Yeah.
It's really, really been a lot of fun.
I think this is a winning combination. So let me just ask a few personal questions here, because San Jose, you grew up. What do you listen to now? What are you listening to now? Like, if you are not listening to yourself and writing, what might you put on to motivate you, relax you, whatever?
Wow, there's a wide variety of things, but you know, most recently, I think, you know, I bounce back and forth between listening to the classic stuff that I really, really love, you know, that I never get tired of, like Ray Charles or you know, Wilson Pickett or James Brown, B.B. King, Buddy Guy, you know, Muddy, whatever. I'm in the mood for some blues, you know, Buddy Guy a lot, Freddie King.
Freddie King.
On and on. With
I like everything that you named.
Those
Every
kind of
single one.
artists that have been with me the whole time since I've been a blues and soul music fan. But I also listen to modern stuff like you know, Jack White or Gary Clark Jr.
Oh, he's great.
Love Gary Clark Jr. You know, I just saw Buddy on the Blues Cruise. I listened to his latest stuff. You know,
Was Tom Hambridge with him playing?
Tom Hambridge was there. Yeah, they had that kid.
Quinn Sullivan?
Quinn Sullivan was on the ship, and
Very cool.
anyway, so I also, and the most fun, believe it or not, that I have is right around with my son Jackson. Used to be my son Jack and my daughter Gabby. You know, they're about 2 years apart, but she's gone off to college, and so now it's just Jack's the only kid left at home. But they would both take turns plugging in their iPhones to the car stereo whenever we're driving to school or going anywhere. And I like listening. What are they listening to?
That's great.
And man, they listen to some cool stuff. He's currently onto a band called the Growlers. That's his favorite.
The Growlers. That's right. The Growlers.
Yeah, they're
Very
really
cool.
good. But
Very cool. Well, you keep them relevant. You're with your kids. You're with your family. You're out there doing it. Are you going back in the studio soon? Are you on another tour? Or are you going to go home and relax for a while?
we're going to work this tour and then get home for, you know, the month of December. It'll be nice to, we have a handful of gigs,
Christmas, yeah.
you know, and then New Year's Eve, you know, and a nice gig in Berkeley. And then we'll start gearing up for the next year. You know, we've already got the next cruise to go to, and start planning out the next a tour of the Northwest, which we haven't been to yet. A tour of Southern California, all in those
great.
months of January, February, and then, you know, then eventually it's going to be. We got a couple South America things popped up, you
That
know, in
sounds
the month
great.
of March, and then we're going to go. Then we're going to do a whole tour again and hit a lot of places that we missed on this one in like April, and work our way
Fabulous.
from somewhere like Michigan down to Texas.
Tampa
or
Bay Blues
something.
Fest?
Tampa Bay's on the
Bays.
list.
I think that's on the list. I went last
That's
year.
one of my
It's fabulous.
favorite
I know.
festivals.
It's fabulous.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Listen, do you have a website?
TommyCastro.com. Thank you for asking.
You're welcome. Very cool.
I almost forget about websites now because
right.
Facebook has taken over the planet, you know.
That's right. Well, we're going to find you. What we're going to do, we're going to take a pause. We're going to go hear the band. You're going to set up.
All right.
You're going to play. This is very, very exciting. I'm going to catch you at Friday night at Johnny D's as well. And I'm just so excited that you sat down and talked with me today. And I'd like to invite you, every time we're in the same place like a spiral, check in and see what's going on.
You know, we should do that. From time to time, we should keep in touch.
Yeah, let's definitely.
All right.
Tommy Castro, you're awesome.
Thank you.
Method to my madness. I'm Holly Harris, sitting here with Tommy Castro at Don Odell's Legends, filling in for Art Tipaldi. Let's go have some fun.